Hi there, and welcome to Programme 3 of Striving for Successful Schools. Today we're going to look at strategic development, and most specifically we're going to look at development planning. So it's probably the biggest thing that new and sometimes even existing senior leaders want to know. When you sit in your office on that first day, look around you and think, okay, what do I do now? I need to be strategic, but how do I go about doing that? So here I'm going to try and shed some light on that and talk about what I do in terms of strategic planning. Okay. Now, really, your strategic plan is going to be informed by all of that work you did at the laying the foundation stage. So when you've looked there, you've got some idea of where you're going, what this is all about. What the development plan actually is, it's the physical reality of how you're going to get there over the next 3 years. So it appears to be a blank sheet of paper, but what you put on that and how you structure that and how you organize it is really vital in terms of, can you really make the most of the potential in your school? So we've got that blank piece of paper. What do we do next? Well, what I tend to do is I will use in the schools that I work in either the validation documents, the standards that are used by the validators, for example CIS, or I might even look at Ofsted criteria or ERO criteria in New Zealand, and I will be looking at the indicators that they pull out, because I know I don't need to reinvent the wheel. I have in my head an idea of what I think makes an effective school, and when I walk around my school I can see, yeah, this looks effective, this looks pretty good, but on paper I know I need to justify that, and I need to be able to communicate that effectively to other people. So I will use those standards, and currently in the last couple of schools I've worked in, I've used Apologies CIS, I've used your standards largely, not entirely but largely. So what I tend to do, I tend to split my plan at the beginning into 7 sections. So my first section will be about the school guiding statements. That's a CIS word, but really it translates to the mission and vision, and also the documents which support that mission and vision in the school. And it's often a part that people will tend to ignore. No, mission and vision, it's what you put on the paper, it's what you have inside the door. It isn't. The mission and vision really is something, it's the way you should live your school life. So it's not about being able to repeat a mantra, the school vision statement is. It's about, what do I see when I come in the school? So I start there, and then I go on to our sort of raison d'etre really. I go on to look at teaching and learning. So I'll set out my priorities for the development of teaching and learning. After that, I will look at things such as professional development. I'll look at the way we are using data, so that's another standard that we'll use. I'll have a development section for pastoral development. We'll look at school culture and partnerships for learning, which is about how we work with parents, how we work with external agencies, how we work with the community. Because in reality, these are things which we need to embrace, and they will help us to flourish as a school. And finally, I'll look at the functional aspect, the operational systems of the school, because without effective operational systems, we're not going to fulfill our potential. And in fact, we can end up looking pretty awful if our systems are not working properly. So that's things like resources, ICT, it's to do with personnel, it's having the right foundations to support what it is we're doing. So that's how I'll start it off. And the next question is, how long is this going to be? Because this is going to be, there's so many things I can do. So I have to prioritize. Now, my advice is not to go down the route of some schools. I was in a school many years ago who had a development plan of 77 pages. And it wasn't really a development plan. It really was a description of what everybody in the school did every day. So the development plan isn't there for that. The development plan is a working document. It's not something you put on a shelf, occasionally take out if your table's got not quite steady and you put it under one of the legs. It's a working document. And in another school I was in, that was hammered home to me again, because as an international vice principal, I went in and I said, can I see the development plan? Yes, said one of the vice principals, of course you can. I said, oh, lovely, where is it? And she said, oh, another vice principal has it. I said, oh, great, lovely, I'll go there. So off I went and I said to that vice principal, hello, can I have a look at the development plan? Yes, she said, but I've just let somebody else have it. Oh, okay, no problem, I'll go on there. I went on about 3 or 4 or 5 different offices, and eventually I found the vice principal and I said, can I have a look at your development plan? She said, yes, of course. I thought, incredible, I found it. Lovely, where is it? She said, it's okay, it's in the cupboard. So, okay, can we have a look at it? She said, unfortunately not. I haven't got the key with me today. Now, that taught me development plan is not something you do that with. These days, in the 21st century, I would be suggesting that a development plan for any school is a shared document. It's on some shared area with access to all members of those people who have a responsibility within it. So how do you do that then? Okay, how do we do it? So we're going to put a document on a shared area, and as a team we're going to create our vision on paper and hopefully also in practice. So we need a template, a consistent template, and the template I use has a title, obviously. It has a heading for each section, for example, school guiding statements, and under that I'll explain what this means. We have a section below that, which is basically the indicators for success for this section. After 3 years, what do we hope to have in place? So that's a description of what we're aiming for. That's the goal. Below that is my table. Now, my first column is my priority area. Now, this may have come from a previous plan, or it may be in a new school, something that we've worked on and decided, okay, we have a foundation, we're up and running, what's our next step? So we have a priority area. So that's just describing. For example, it might be, in terms of teaching and learning, it might be to ensure that at least 80% of the lessons are good to excellent. Okay. The next column I will have is my action points. So my action points relate to my priority area. That states the actions, individual actions can be as many as you want, but please keep it simple because we don't want 77-page plans. These are the actions that I will take, or whoever is responsible will take, to ensure that the priority area gets met. The third column is for the manager or leader responsible. And in this one, this is crucial. This should always be the senior person in the school with the responsibility for this aspect of development. And it shouldn't be a name, because John, Phil, Alice, Derek may be in the school now, but they may not be in the school in 3 years' time. The person fulfilling this role is the lead manager, strategic developer for this area of the school. So it's a title. So it may be me as the academic principal, it may be the director of studies, it may be a pastoral coordinator, the head of pastoral, whatever. So we need to identify the title of the person responsible in the school for fulfilling that area of it. The fourth column is about review and evaluation. Again, another fundamentally key thing. This gives us our cycle of self-evaluation. So it tells us which members of the school leadership team or maybe the school community will review this. It tells us when it will be reviewed. And obviously we don't wait until the end of the 3 years to say, did we do that? Oh no, maybe we didn't. Maybe we should have looked at it before. No, we set out a cycle of review. It may be termly, half-termly. Sometimes, for example, in mission statement, it might be yearly. But we We agree between us who will be involved in this process, when the process will take place, and we agree the criteria by which we will review it. So what do we need to have done at which stage? So that's a really key aspect of our plan. And then our final column will be the timeline that we expect this to be completed. So it may be each of the different action points has a different timeline, or it might also be the way in which we will decide at the end, did we finally achieve all of that? Now, that needs to be in each section. And my advice would be to keep it as simple as possible, bullet pointed. To keep it reviewed every half term as a leadership team. And it will be that you will need to devolve some aspects of the development plan to heads of department, some aspects maybe to pastoral workers, some aspects to people managing administrative systems, etc. So the key thing about it is to communicate it. You have to communicate not just your vision, but your process too. You have to be transparent with the criteria that you're using, and you have to involve people in the process. The idea of, the WIFM, to quote an old phrase, what's in it for me, has never been more important. People will work with you if they understand, A, it makes their life better, and B, they can see that there is a real reason behind this. So the what's in it for me factor is really, really important. Now, basically, that's it in terms of initial strategic development planning. The rest of it is down to you as strategic leaders and how you go about that. Now, the way I tended to do it is to talk as a leadership team generally around it and agree broad priorities, but then to devolve that to different members of the leadership team to develop it out, to flesh it out, and then come back to agree to refine it, to get it down to, I would say 20 pages is probably the maximum you would want to do, okay, at this stage. Maybe it's slightly longer, maybe slightly less, but it's got to be readable, it's got to be accessible, and it's got to be reviewable. So that's the key points on setting out on strategic development. In future programs, I'm going to look at the different aspects of the development plan and how you as a senior leader can perhaps address some of those issues. So again, as always, it's been great speaking to you. I will look forward to speaking to you next time when I'm going to talk a little bit about teaching and learning and how we develop teaching and learning. So thank you very much. Goodbye.